I'm sure it's coming. Oh no, did we
We're live.
We are?
Yeah.
We're live.
It says we're live. Yeah.
Oh.
We didn't get the dancing music.
Can you guys hear us? I was about to take a drink of water. Okay. Well, hello everybody and welcome to your weekly astrological weather. This is your place to get practical guidance for not only surviving the cosmic tides, but thriving with them. We're so happy to be here with all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm here with your favorite weather woman, predictive astrologer, Anne Ortelee. And my name's Amanda Walsh. I'm the founder of Astrology Hub. I'm all discombobulated. But what I wanted to do first is just thank all of you because we hit a milestone today, 20,000 subscribers on YouTube. And that's huge. So literally, we just started really posting to the YouTube channel about a year and 3 months ago, maybe. I mean, like at the beginning of 2020. And so that is just a testimony to all of you. Thank you, all of you YouTube subscribers. Thank you for sharing the content. Like we just continue to keep growing. It's also a testimony to astrology, the way that I see it, and you, Anne, and our amazing astrologers. And this desire that people have to really understand what's happening from a higher perspective and to really tune into what it is that we're going through, because we're definitely going through something really big and it's turning a lot of people onto astrology. It's like, maybe there's something to that astrology thing. Maybe
is Mercury retrograde or something?
Yeah, exactly. All right. So I just wanted to, again, thank all of you YouTube subscribers. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for sharing it with your friends. Thank you for being here every week, for tuning in later, for watching all the content on this channel. We're very, very, very grateful for all of you and all of you on all the platforms.
Yeah,
for sure. But today there's a particular focus on YouTube because we hit that 20,000 milestone. Oh, awesome. Okay. And a thank you to my team. This Astrology Hub team is so amazing. I don't know if whenever people have an opportunity to interact and engage with them, you know what I'm talking about. But thanks to all the team who tirelessly work to get the content up and out and in your hands as quickly as possible and as in high quality as possible as well. So, okay. So Anne, here we are. What is going on? And what are we having for the week ahead?
Well, we had the Hammer of Thor, which was the malefics. We saw Venus in Virgo went through it and then Mars went through it. And that was the fall of Afghanistan and a lot of other stuff. A lot of people had big revelations. And then last week, Uranus stationed to go retrograde until January. So he said, I'm not going forward anymore till January. You guys got to clean up the mess. So we have until the end of September, beginning of October, because right now, if you look at the planets, every outer planet, which is the structure of our lives, the personal planets are, what we do every day, what we eat, when we take our shower, how we brush our teeth, how we play with the cat or the dog, what we do with our kids, how we talk to our friends. Those are the personal planets. But the structure of our life, all those planets that rule the structure are backwards, retrograde. And they're saying revise, revisit, change, change, change. And we know that this is a year where everybody's really changing up their stuff. So this last week was the Uranus station that said, I've gone as far forward as I can. You guys got to go clean up the mess. And we certainly see, Afghanistan looks like a bit of a mess. It's like, okay, we're gonna be in there doing it. And that's very much Virgo too. Process, Virgo's military, Virgo's service. So we had the full moon on Saturday, Sunday morning, bright and early, and the sun and the moon it was called a blue moon because earlier in the month there was a full moon in Aquarius and Leo at the early degrees, and then this one was at 29 on Regulus, the king star. So there was this king moment, and then the sun went into Virgo and said, okay, we're going to shift into process now. And so we have process for 30 days. Mercury was there already. Mars was there already. Venus was there already. Now the sun's doing process. So we're all being asked to pay attention to our process. And of course, I live in New York. We had a big concert that was going to be New York's back. And halfway through, Barry Manilow, one of the kings of music, there was lightning, Uranus, and
Wow.
they shut he's singing Mandy, and they shut the concert down. He didn't quite get to I Made It Through the Rain, and boom, they were like, okay, everybody go home. Everybody go home. You got to go home and be safe. And that's Virgo, right? I mean, it's very interesting to watch the energy of the shift, because when you see the planets shift, you can really see it. Like there were all these famous people that were going to be performing in Central Park. And I've been to a number of concerts in Central Park. So, I tuned in on CNN. I entered the lottery, but didn't get in, didn't get picked. So our job with this shift and change is, okay, now we have to go back to work. Okay, now we have to go do the thing. So this week is basically an adjusting week and figuring out how we're going to go forward. We do have a really crabby aspect at the end of the week at 27. We have Eris and Pluto square. Now, we know the Hammer of Thor was formed by Venus going through it and by Mercury going through it and by Mars going through it. So we know that hammer has been triggered a few times. And then in a couple weeks, in a week or so, the sun's going to go through it and trigger it. But this week, Eris and Pluto square each other, and they're the components of the hammer. So all the stuff that you've been working on, that you've been thinking about, that you've been pondering, the hammer perfects this week. And Eris Pluto square is how are we using or abusing power? So to your words earlier, when we were doing our grounding thing, the anger, the fighting, the intensity, because Eris, of course, in her lower form, is the goddess of discord, and she just knows exactly how to poke, exactly how to right in there. She's Mars's sister, and she's squaring Pluto, who is the power, right? So we see now as Pluto Eris square, we're going to see the power says, hey, we're going to do this. And Eris is a little contentious. So whether we're arguing over vaccinations or masks or where we're going to live or what we're going to do, Eris Pluto is very active. And then in a few days after next week, the sun's going to come through there and we're going to have a solution. But this week is high contention. Moon's right now in Pisces. It's a full moon. And then moon's going to go into Aries, which is, no, I want what I want, right? And then it goes into Taurus, which is mine. And then it goes into Gemini. Now, the good part is the moons all have nice closing aspects. So that's good. So they're going to be productive, even if it's contentious. The goal with Virgo planets, and there's a lot of them in the sky right now, is when they start criticizing, because that's what they do really well, and I can talk trash about Virgo because I'm a Virgo. When they start to criticize, you have to say to them, well, what would your solution be? And get them problem solving, because then it gets done. And Virgo can be a little messy, like there are things called dirty Virgos, because it isn't always clean when you're in process. Imagine when you're painting something or renovating something. There's paint, there's tape, there's plaster dust, it's a mess. But then when it's all cleaned up, it looks really nice. So my friend Carol and Paul are married, and they're both Leos. Carol has a bit of Virgo in her chart. Paul has got a lot of Virgo in his chart. So when he does home projects, he always has to do them when Carol's not around, because she goes crazy with the mess. So she leaves the house and he does the project and he makes a huge mess and then he cleans it all up. And then she's happy. If she stays during the process, he's like, it's process. It's okay. And she's like, it's a mess. But there's a messy component with Virgo. It rules the intestines. And so Virgo sorts out the wheat from the chaff, the vitamins, the fat, it sorts, it does the absorptive energy. So if we look at Afghanistan, we're sorting out, who goes, who stays, right? There's a sorting energy. It's got a process energy because it's process-based. Virgo is very process-based. There's a procedure we should follow. And then it also has an energy around, okay, how do we make it better? That's the key with the energy this week, because people are going to be complaining. Very easy to criticize when this many planets are in Virgo. And your job is to say, I hear your criticism. How are you going to make it better? What are you going to do to make it a little better involved? Girl Scouts, Virgo is the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts. What can you do to leave it better than you found it? And so if we focus that way, it'll help. And also just recognize everybody and their brother is in the mood to criticize this week. So you want to kind of, when it happens, you figure out how you want to handle it. Now, I happen to have Mars square Mercury in my chart. So a lot of times Mars is, I'm in the 11th house. So I'm in a leadership position in a group, and someone comes over to me and complains about something and tells me I should do this. And I look at them and I go, that is a really great idea. I think you should do it. And they go, well, I don't want to do it. You should do it. I'm like, no. It's your idea. You go do it. And give them permission to go do it. Or tell them they have to, because you have to do it because you're the leader. It's like, I'm not the leader. The leader organizes people to do the work. You have a great idea. Go do the work. So that's a way to handle the energy, even with yourself. When you're going to yourself, you go, all right, so what am I going to do to change that, fix that, adjust it? The energy is I say it, but I keep doing it. Mercury and Mars met up last week. They're trining Uranus. They're saying, if you wanted to change, you've got to change. If you want to do it, you've got to take action. And Mercury and Mars met up, but they also trined Uranus. This week, Mercury is going to trine Pluto. Mars doesn't get there for a little bit, but we're going to be feeling, okay, what can I do to make a difference? And I think that's the important place to stand this week with this energy. Easy to criticize. What can I do to make a difference? And when you hear somebody being critical, even if it's on the radio or the TV, you say, okay, well, what can you do to make it better? As opposed to, it's easy to criticize, it's hard to do. And the important thing this week with all the Virgo planets is you got to step up and do it, because the sun's in Virgo now. It's like no more laying around criticizing. You have to do stuff. Mercury is in Virgo for another week. So he's making a big list. So it doesn't mean you have to get it all done, but you have to step up and do it. Does that make sense?
Yes. It's so funny. Right before you said list, I was thinking in my head, we could make a list of all the things that we've been criticizing, and after each one say, what can I do about it? So make the list of the thing that's really that you feel critical of, and then ask the question, what you just said, how do I make it better?
And some stuff you can make better and some stuff you can't, and the stuff you can't, you bless. And you go, well, I can't really make that better, but I can do the other side, the Pisces side, and I can bless it.
Whoa, that's
right.
powerful.
Because Mercury is opposite Neptune this week, which is if it's a mess for a reason, and it's to go positive in a Neptune way. So, of course, I always watch the internet to see what the week is. The collective reflects it. So Chrissy Teigen, I love John Legend. So she wrote, I was really a functional alcoholic when I first met John. Mercury opposite Neptune, right? And I'm like, well, that's an interesting Mercury-Neptune revelation, And, so we're going to watch. And, of course, Neptune is music, and it's also alcohol. So when she met John, he replaced the alcohol in her life. Literally, he came in as the Neptune guy, right? So he became the bigger Neptune. So we also want to watch for the energy shifting, because when things leave our lives, we get a replacement of the energy. The nature abhors a vacuum. Think about when you pull a weed out of the backyard, that little thing starts growing grass, right? So when stuff leaves, new stuff wants to come in as part of the journey of, oh, there's a hole there. There's an opportunity for me to create. Let me create something. So it's a big week. But when we get to the Eris Pluto square at the 27th, that's a little bit tough, because that's the fourth of 5. It has been correlated with sex trafficking. So here in the New York, we're having the R. Kelly trial, so that's the sex trafficking piece, but also the power dynamics and how they work. So it's important. This is the fourth of 5. We have another one in October. So,
and you mentioned the lower form of Eris, which is the discord piece. But would you say that in some ways that's also the higher form, because she is creating the order out of chaos, or she's like creating the chaos so that a new level of order can actually happen? Or what would you, sorry, let me
Yeah.
rephrase.
Mhm.
What would you say is the higher form of Eris?
The higher form of Eris is hubris, where she goes, okay, so that's what you think? Here you go. And you go, wow, because she gets you on the hubris.
So hubris, I thought hubris was not a positive thing. Am I misunderstanding what it is?
No, it's I'm gonna give you an opportunity to learn from your vision of how you're perfect.
Right. It's calling out that you think you know everything, and it's calling out that you don't, right? And that, you would say, is Eris's highest form, is calling
that's one of
that
my
out.
that's one of my favorite versions of her. When she does that, I'm like, oh, cool. Wow. Let's see what this one looks like, because she does she sets it up, right? So if we think of her mythology, when she showed up at the wedding that she wasn't invited to, this is back to Georgia saying, invite the mean witch to the wedding, right? Invite the mean witch to the party.
Yeah.
She showed up at the party and she wasn't invited, and she threw an apple in and she said it's for the most beautiful goddess. So the three of them started fighting over it because none of them wanted to think they weren't the most beautiful. So Paris picked, but then the other two were mad and they went off and caused a problem, and there was a Trojan War for 10 years. So she's got this quality of provocativeness. And she's also a fierce warrior energy. So when she's in fierce warrior energy mode, which is her other version, she's tough. She doesn't care. She's going for it. She has a vision. She has a mission. She's going to support it. Whether you like it or not, she knows what she's doing. And you stand back or work with her. Those are her two modes. So it's an interesting energy. And, and I think one of the things that we forget, because we like to think of astrology as all sweetness and light, is there's evil in the world. There's evil. And when Eris is around, oftentimes you see the evil.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's almost like she brings the darkness up to the surface, because when she threw that apple and they start fighting over who's prettiest, I mean, basically what she's doing is showing their weakness and their like pettiness as goddesses, which is really questionable. The whole story is like, really? But at the same time, I mean, what she did, she illuminated that piece that they were still willing to like fight to the death over. And I think that that's an illuminating factor. That's she does it in a way that seems dark, but it's actually illuminating what is dark, what was already there. Right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And if we think of her that way, then we go, oh, well, we see it now. Okay, now what are we going to do about it?
Exactly.
If anything. And sometimes you can't do anything about it. But
we could start a war for 10 years, or we could choose something different.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. And that's part of her, when everybody's arguing and yelling, Eris square Pluto, I'm not going to spend whatever trillions of dollars in a war in a country that we're not, what are we going to kill our people for? So yes, horrible scenes, totally have an obligation to help the interpreters and the people who worked with us so they don't get killed. But it's Eris looking at Pluto going, when's it going to end? What makes it end?
There could be there's lots of different interpretations of that situation, but I mean, that's one of them for sure. Yeah. Okay. So,
and that's when we look at the Eris Pluto square, she's always going to, because she's in a square to power. Pluto is power. She's going to challenge power.
Yeah.
So we have people challenging mask mandates. We have people challenging vaccine mandates. We have people, Eris Pluto square, baby. And it is like, you can't make me. Like, all right, you're right. I can't. You can't.
Right.
And what do you do about it?
Well, that's also the Saturn and the Saturn Uranus square, right? I mean, there's several energies coming together that are similar, because the Saturn Uranus is like freedom versus control as well.
Yes.
Old versus new. I mean, there's all these things. So we're having all this clashing energy, and it's coming in different forms, but it's kind of all the same thing.
Yep, it is. And so part of it is looking at it and assessing it from our perspective. What are we here for? Yeah. Right? What are you actually here for? And when you sit with that question, then you're able to shut out all the crazy noise over on the other side that's fighting and arguing. And you're able to kind of go, well, I'm here for a nice peach cobbler. I'd really like to make a gazpacho. I made roasted beet dip this weekend. It was really good. What can I actually do? And that's the Virgo planets. What can I do? Right? What can I do about this? And so that's the space where if we sit or we hang out, that'll help us quite a bit in handling this energy. What can you actually do? And if you can do something, do it.
Right.
Yeah. And it's understanding there's myriad versions of reality. All three of the goddesses said power, strategy, beauty. What do you want? He went for beauty. Power and strategy went after his butt, right? So we understand that sometimes there's choices. The problem with this week is the choices can be hard, but when we're clear about what our purpose and path is, then we can approach it with the place of grace. Because Mercury is opposite Neptune. And it says, well, what's your place of grace? What's your place of grace? And everybody's going to have, Mercury and Virgo. Everybody's going to be contentious and argumentative. And that's part of that energy. Mars and Virgo. Well, you should have. Like, right, I should have, but I didn't. Now how are we going to do it? And, we went through it. I have a new microphone. If you guys notice an audio quality, Amanda and Jamie mailed it to me. And I was trying to get it to work. We figured it out. But it was like a little process, like tweak. And we almost gave up. And then it was like, okay, check this one thing. And then it worked, right? So it's also with the Virgo planets is poke. So the other day I was making a dish with coconut milk, and I was at a place that sold coconuts. So I thought, oh, that would be good. Let me get coconut. So I brought a coconut home, and it said, okay, this is how you open it. So I'm working on one end, not working. I don't know what the hell's, I've never opened a coconut before. I rolled it over, and I'm like, oh, I'm opening the wrong end, right? And then I got the right end open, and I got all the coconut milk out. But it was kind of one of those, I've never opened a coconut before. So it's process, test, try, test, try, test, try. And we have 30 days of that with the sun in Virgo. Also, as we're leaving, the sun leaving Leo, it should calm some of the fires down, which would be good because we've got so much of the West on fire.
Yeah. Okay. And so we have, what you're saying is basically in all of this chaos, in all of this disruption, and that's very much Eris kind of energy, right? And then we have Pluto, so that Pluto's like revealing from the depths, underneath the floorboards of the house, all the rot, like what's actually under there. So we have these two planets that serve they both serve a very interesting purpose, and it's kind of the same end. They like get to the same end in a different way. Right. But so they're squaring on the 27th. So this sounds to me like kind of the highlight of the week in terms of the energy. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, that's when it really hits. Yeah. Because we had the Venus go through it, we had Mercury go through it, we had Mars go through the hammer of Thor, and now we're going to have the two of them meet, and then next week we're going to have the sun go through it, and the sun's going to look and go, okay, so we're going to have a Trojan War? What are we doing here? What did we decide? Right? So the energy of, all of our personal planets are over in the Virgo part. They're all looking at this stuff. And a lot of times when there's this kind of energy, the oppositional energy, because retrogrades mean that the planets are opposite the sun, right? But they also are saying to us, revise, revisit, redo, RE words, reorganize, restructure. And we got a lot of people throwing away stuff, a lot of people moving, a lot of people changing how they're doing things. And that will be through the end of September. And then it's going to be like, oh, okay, now what are we doing? What's that forward motion look like? And so just trust the process, that it's not forward yet. It's still clearing out stuff, because once it's cleared out, and that, the Pluto Eris square, you open up the thing and you go, ooh, what's that doing in there? That's a little nasty. It's the thing in the back of the refrigerator, that kind of went green on you. But it has its own life. There's mold on it. The mold's really happy. You throw it away, the mold keeps growing. It's a happy little mold, right? So we understand that the decay and the falling apart is part of the bigger journey. The disruption energy is part of the bigger journey. Mm-hmm. And that's that disruptive energy where we have to assess, who we are. And also the hubris of, well, we're the greatest thing since sliced bread, which is what the three goddesses said. And then they weren't picked, and then they were mad. So we want to kind of watch, if you get insulted by something, that's okay. That's, recognizing your relative status. From Paris's perspective, love was most important. He was a shepherd. He didn't really want power. He didn't really want strategy. He wanted a good woman to snuggle up with. Just happened that she was married, and it started a war, and a lot of people died. But, the goal was there. So, it's about us making the choices that are right for us. That's the key. That's why all this turmoil, because when there's this much turmoil, we often have to step back and think about, well, what's right for me in this space? What do I want? And if we do that, Virgo is a humble sign. It goes, what's the thing that I want for me? What would be right for me? And so when we look at Virgo, each sun sign compensates for the overdoing of the previous. So the Leo is, look, I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. Virgo is, sliced bread's nice, but who made the bread? I made the bread, right? And, I know you're all puffy and huffy, Leo, but it's all about the process and the work. And as we go into the harvest season in the Northern Hemisphere, the sun has been blooming, growing all those tomatoes. And now Virgo, you're going to can them, you're going to let them rot on the vine, right? Virgo is the working with what's been created and allowing it to shift into something else in 30 days, into something that we're going to partner with in a slightly different way. So it's a really big week, because it's going to get you focused on, well, what can I actually do? And when you find yourself criticizing in your own mind or in whatever, adjust. Like I was listening to stuff and I was arguing with my computer, and I thought, is this really a productive use of your time? And you got a lot of other stuff to do. And I thought, no, it's not. Let me turn off my computer and go do other stuff, because I'm arguing with it right now. I'm, arguing with people on the computer who have no bearing to me at all, who don't know I even exist. And I'm sitting here getting all annoyed. Yeah. Like, is this a good use of my time? I think I can go do something else.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was thinking too, this hubris word that we were using, it seems like the opposite, and what do you guys think is the opposite of hubris? But what I was thinking is the opposite of hubris would be humility. Like knowing that you don't know everything, knowing that you can't see everything, knowing that there's something happening that you only have a small sliver of perspective on from your vantage point. All of us do. Right. It'd be impossible to not only have that small sliver of perspective.
Well, think about what you know. Think about, like, if you've ever been to the Library of Congress, think about the library in your town. Have you read all those books? Do you have education in all those things? No. So what we do as a collective is we rely on people that supposedly have studied it longer than we have for their wisdom to bring it to us. And then we get to decide if we want to accept it or not. But we also, that's the beauty of working in a collective or a community. Right now we have Saturn and Aquarius. So we're saying the leaders don't know what they think. They don't know what they're doing. Why should we listen to a leader? Aquarius rebel against the leaders. And it's like, well, you can rebel against the leaders, but what are you going to do instead?
Right. There has to be.
And that's that's where, like, you can do that. I'm an Aquarius rising. I was a difficult teenager. And, my mother was smart in that she always gave me choices, well, you can do this or this. And then, and sometimes I would be like, I'm not doing either of them. I'm going to do what I want.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's the Aquarian energy. You can't make me. And so as long as we have that running, which we have running for another year, we're going to be in a position of looking at what we think of leaders, Saturn, authorities, maybe a better way to say it. And remember, Pluto in Capricorn is answering to Saturn in Aquarius. So Saturn in Aquarius goes, well, and Saturn and Uranus are having a fight. And Uranus goes, my way is right, because he's in Taurus, and Saturn in Aquarius goes, suck it. So there's a lot of, and so when that happens, you can kind of look and go, okay, am I going to talk them into it? No. What can I do? Well, I can do this. All right, then go do that. Like, don't waste your energy. Remember, when we're engaged in the struggle, we're not looking towards our future. We're not looking towards what we can do.
Right.
We're fighting, and fighting does not, fighting is a use of energy, but maybe not the most productive is the best way.
Well, we're stuck in the problem and we're not seeing possibilities.
Right.
Like, because we're so hyper focused on what the problem is that it's hard to see the possibilities when we're in that place. Mm-hmm. And you keep reminding us, you've said this many times today, which is really important, I think. Make the choices that are right for you. You said, make choices that are right for you. So when that's happening, the only thing you can do is continue to make the next best choice for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it.
Whew. Okay, Anne. So we haven't gotten the theme, and we haven't gotten the intensity scale.
The intensity scale is going to be how comfortable you are with the changes, right? So if you're not comfortable with the changes that are going on, you're going to be very frustrated and upset. If you are comfortable with the process of changes that are going on, you're going to understand that in 5 years, 10 years, what does this mean? Then you're going to be it's not going to be such a hard week.
So we have to be looking 5-10 years out. And we have to know that we can't know what life is going to be like in 5 to 10 years. So the choices that we're making right now that may seem really difficult, it's trusting that guidance that you have, knowing that you can't see right now what result that choice is going to have in 5 or 10 years. But that the only barometer you have is what's right now. And that's going to put you on the trajectory that you need to be on.
Yeah, because it's a big choice point in time, right? And Mercury is opposite Neptune. So it's saying to you, you have a dream you're supposed to be working on. What's that dream? Right? And that opposition that Mercury makes to Neptune as he gets ready to go void. Mars is going to make it in a couple of weeks. The sun's going to make it in a couple of weeks. And Neptune, of course, is at the last degree of Pisces, or last degrees of Pisces. Neptune last time he was in Pisces was 165 years ago. When we were leading up to the Civil War in the United States. So we understand the role of Pisces. Pisces rules slavery. Pisces rules illusion, delusion, depression. Pisces rules on a higher form music. It rules inspiration, guidance, what your vision is. So when we look over time, and again, time is important, because right now we're in the midst of it. Our job is to get through it as best we can and help others that are trying to get through it too, and then go forward with whatever the new thing is. So it's an interesting energy, so I always kind of pay attention to who's in the news, and in New York, I like looking at houses, right? So Nate Berkus and his partner just sold their townhouse downtown. It's beautiful, and I like looking at how they decorate and all that. I'm one of those girls. And I forgot that he had lost his partner in the tsunami in Indonesia. He was on vacation Christmas Day. They woke up bowling day or whatever, the Boxing Day, and the tsunami came in, and they traveled together for part of it, and then they were separated, and his partner died in the water, and he survived. And he mentioned it, and in one of the articles I was reading, and I went, oh, wow. Now look at his life. He's since married, has 2 kids, has a beautiful career. But at that point, he was caught in the river in the tsunami of, he woke up and his world changed, right? So we're kind of at one of those pivotal moments in the world. And when that happens, we recognize that in the moment, we don't always know what's going to happen, but we know we have to figure out how to survive it, get through it, and work with it, understanding that the goal is to stay alive and get to the other side of it, and then figure out what to do, right? And so that, and I thought, oh yeah, I remember that, and you look at what his life has turned out to be from that really big moment of change. So we recognize we have these pivotal moments where we really understand things. And this is one of those pivotal moments this whole year. Of course, the COVID is a whole pivotal moment for the world. We got millions of people with this virus. So we are at a pivotal time. And we know after we have these pandemics and things like that, pandemics and wars, there's a renaissance after it happens. And so we want to get through it and get to the renaissance. And this is one of the harder weeks, last week, this week, next week, because of the Eris Pluto square.
That tsunami visual feels really relevant right now. I mean, I think it feels like that big of a force for so many people, for all of us in our lives in different ways. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. So in terms of the theme, we have the intensity is basically depending on how you are viewing the change, whether how open you are. Someone said change. It was a good, I liked the word change, tolerance. Change tolerance. Yeah. What is your change tolerance? Yeah. And what would you say is the theme?
The theme is faith. Have faith. Have, faith in the sense of that we don't, one of the things that I, have learned in astrology is when you see transits that are hard in the sky or in someone's chart, trust that they are there for a reason and that there's a purpose behind them that will be served that we don't necessarily know about. But in hindsight, when we look back, we go, oh, that's what it was for. That's what it was for. And that helps us trust the process, because we don't know what it's for necessarily when we're in it, but have faith that it will turn out the way it's supposed to. It might not be the way you want it to, but it will turn out the way it's supposed to. And when we know that, then we go, okay. And I think it's important, periodically I'll have someone call me to look at a difficult situation that happened in their life. Like, why was this baby born stillborn? Or why did this happen? Or why did the mother die and the baby lived, right? And, you obviously can see it in the kid's chart. You can see it in the mother's chart. You can see it as part of the test of the relationship. You can see it as part of the journey that they're supposed to be on, part of their natal potential, what was part of their soul's path. And so because we're working on micro level, we're down here on Earth, we're not up at 20,000 feet looking and saying, well, what's going on. We're in the midst. We're in the mix. So when you're in the mix, you aren't getting the big picture. So the process is to trust the process, to have faith and trust the process, that what's supposed to happen will happen based on that person's chart. When I was first learning astrology, whenever there was a big event, my astrology teacher, we would all go, well, what happened, and he would be like, it's a collective experience. It's an experience to help the collective grow. And I'm like, unsatisfactory answer. But as I've gotten older, Now I say shit like that to clients.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, not,
Yeah.
and I can tell when it's going to be over, and I can tell when it's going to get you somewhere.
Right.
And, we're all learning. We're all part of this big experiment called Earth School.
Yeah. And
So,
it's so true. And if we remember that this time astrologically has been scripted, so to speak. I mean, astrologers were looking at 2020 as the kickoff of a global change that would make life on Earth never the same again. Literally, I remember them saying things like that years ago and going, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like what? I remember Adam Gainsbourg said his prediction was that 2020 would become the new year zero. And I was like, what? Like something massive is going to happen. That always on some level gives me peace because we chose to be here at this time. I mean, mathematically, you can look at all those transits that we're in right now. And when our soul chose our chart, it was already scripted. It was already there. You could have looked ahead to however old you are now. You could have looked ahead to this time and been like, at that time, some crazy stuff's going to be going down. And I remember even when I was going through my own, I call it my personal apocalypse, like when my whole life, just like every single aspect of my life was basically burned to the ground and I had to start all over. But it was also in my chart. It was in my chart. And astrologers would look at it and they'd be like, this is what's happening. There's a reason this is happening. You wanted to have these experiences. Your soul needed these experiences to grow and become who you are meant to become. And so that happens to us at a personal level when we're going through those transits, and it's happening to us at a collective level, which of course is affecting us personally. Right. And that for me, I don't know about for you guys, but for me, that gives me some sense of peace. It doesn't make it easier to go through it. It's still hard. It's still challenging. It still hurts. There's still those moments where it feels like everything's lost. And it's like, there's a purpose to all this. This was literally scripted in the story of humanity. And you could go back thousands of years and see it for right now. So here we are.
You can really go back, and when you look at those, and I would encourage people that are going, really scripted, pick up Richard Tarnas's book, Cosmos and Psyche, where he talks about the psychological evolution of humanity based on what's going on in the cosmos. And he talks about these big planetary aspects and what they produce as change in the world. So it's, we're having that. We're in the mix. We're going through it. We all have a bed. We all have water. We're okay. What's your job? What's your job?
What
can you do to help?
So Virgo, right? What's your job?
I'm such a Virgo.
I love it. My Capricorn just loves it. Like, yeah, that's your job. What are you here to do?
What are you here to do? You got some gift. Your chart says what your master plan is,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do to that point, I do find that easy. It's one of those things where, at 5 years old, if your mother took your chart to an astrologer, they would have said, okay, this year is when she's going to have all these huge changes. Yeah. And, and the hard part, when you're a baby astrologer, you look and you go, well, can I do something about it? Can I change it? Can I stop it? And it's like, no, you can't. You can learn how to work with the energy, but it isn't something you can stop. It's something you can work with. And that, I think, is the most important part to remember is, well, how can I work with it? Because therein lies your own sense of authenticity and your own reason for being here, like why you're here. What are you here to do? And if you do that, that's your job. That's your Saturn. Do your Saturn,
Do your Saturn. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. The theme is faith. The intensity scale is varying depending on your relationship with
high or, and I would encourage people, if the stuff is too overwhelming, it feels like a tsunami coming in. It's a tsunami of images, although we did have like a town somewhere out west in middle part, have the water come through. But it's a tsunami of energy coming at you. So it's really filtering, what you want to take in too.
Yes, very important. Yep. My hula kumu's kumu. So in my lineage of hula that I've been dancing for about 10 years, but there's lineages. Anyways, my kumu would always say, you best make friends with change because it's going to be a constant companion in your life. And she said it more eloquently than that, but basically, like, change is something to befriend because it's always going to be happening. Okay, so we have Uranus retrograde. I'm doing a little summary now. Uranus retrograde, which is all about cleaning up the mess. So where are there places in your life that you still want to clean up? Where are there things that you want to have put in place? And things that, any of the things that you need to tie up, loose ends, things that you need to clean up still, now's the time to do that. Every outer planet is retrograde right now, which is basically complete revision of our structures, complete revision of those things that have seemed solid in our life. They're all retrograde right now, asking us to revisit those things and to get them more aligned. Get them more aligned with our values, get them more aligned with who we are, get them more aligned with what it is we came here to do. That's happening now as well. We have this energy, all this Virgo energy around work, get to work, go back to work. Like, what are the things that you need to be working on? This is an adjusting.
Habits and routines too. Great time to do new habits.
New habits, new routines. Perfect. Okay. We have the Eris Pluto square on the 27th, which astrologically is kind of like the headliner of the week. And this is questions around how we are using or abusing power. This is this energy of creation from chaos. So chaos probably at a height, and the ability for new creations to happen after that, but we're in the chaos. And there can be a lot of contention this week. So high contention. But next week, it looks like we will have some solutions, some potential solutions presenting themselves, which is very good to hear.
Which will be helpful. Yeah.
Yes. Even with all the contentiousness, you said that there is an element of productivity, and if we choose, there's some problem solving that we can do. Yeah. Okay. This is also a sorting energy. So this discernment is a word we used a lot last week, and it came up so much throughout the week. I was like, wow, that was right on. So sorting energy is that's that ability to discern, like, what stays and what goes. I mean, that's discernment. And then these questions, you gave some great questions for us to ponder. How do we make it better? If there's things that we're critical of, if there's things in our world that we have been maybe unhappy with for a long time. Maybe you looked at leaders for a long time and said they don't know what they're doing. And now it's the case. So how can we make it better? What can we do to make it better? What can you do to leave the world, your world, better than the way you found it? And if you want to do it, take action. So then we have Mercury trine Pluto, which again, what can I do to make a difference?
Right.
And we talked about making a list of things that we can do. And then we talked about the stuff that we can't do anything about, blessing, which I think is an amazing input there. Yep. Watch for the energy shifting, new things coming in as part of your journey. So being open to that, maybe there's certain things you're having to let go of, but being open to that there could be something new coming in that could be even better than what you had before.
And also, Sun squares the nodes of fate on the 29th. So very often you meet somebody or you meet something important to your path then. So kind of pay attention to who you meet on the 29th. Yep.
On the 29th. Okay. Stephen, the Jupiterian, I love this. I've heard lots of different acronyms for fear, but this is a really good one. Fear, face everything and rise. Face everything and rise. Really good, Stephen. Thank you. Okay. Again, these questions, what are you here for? What can you do? What's your place of grace? So what can you do to bring grace into your world? What can you do to bring grace for other people? This week, that could be just having compassion for the human experience, for the mess that we've made. On some level, it's just like, can we be compassionate about the situation we're in, compassionate to ourselves, compassionate to the people around us? I mean, we're in a mess. So, I mean, we can continue blaming each other for it, or we can have compassion for each other and start to choose another way.
Or you can do like my friend Paul does, where he does it when Carol's not home. He makes the mess and cleans it up before she gets home.
Yeah, exactly.
And there was a great book when I was growing up called The Cat in the Hat, and he would come over and he made the whole house pink, and the kid was like, oh my God, what are my parents going to do? And then he kind of cleaned it up magically and it was gone. So yeah, you can clean up the mess.
Good. Now you keep saying that we have 30 days.
Yeah.
Why are you saying 30 days?
Because the outer planets start to go direct at the end of September, beginning of October.
Okay.
So once they start going forward again, then we're going to be like, okay, we're done with all the revisions. Now we're doing forward motion. Because remember, when they're retrograde, they're inviting us to revise, revisit, redo. And so now the whole sky is backwards, and they're saying, well, what are you going to do? You're going to revise it? What's your plan? And then once they turn direct, they go boing, 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 boing through, the end of September through January. And when they shift forward, then it's like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. So it's kind of, there's a whole sea change. It's rare to have so many planets in the, in the fourth quadrant. We have Pluto in Capricorn, we have Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, we have Eris and Aries, we have Chiron in Aries, we have Uranus and Taurus. So that whole little section is ending stuff, figuring it out, in Neptune and Pisces, and then beginning stuff through anger, through discord, but beginning things. So we have all these planets over there, and all the Virgo, the personal planets, are all looking at them going, oh, what are we doing? What are we doing? They kind of a little higher voice, like, oh, how are we going to handle it? And so we want to give them permission to go, well, you can do something. What can you do? I can make breakfast. Okay, go make breakfast. Because in the minute, there's a great book called Chop Wood, Carry Water. In the minute days of service, in the habits and the routines. And think about when you've been depressed and you haven't opened your mail and you haven't brushed your teeth and you just wanted to be in bed sleeping. There's a habitual energy with Virgo planets that the habits support us. We need those habits. We need that structure, that grounding structure in our life. And so Virgo planets are very much about, well, what can I do to do something about this? And so give them all permission to do something, because the other guys are all over there fighting and you can't really do anything. They're like across the room from you. So you can watch the fight. You might be in the fight, but you're basically looking at it and going, okay, what's my role here? What role do I have as a member of society, as a member of the world I'm in? My people, my beloveds, my people that I don't like so much, but I'm here. What am I doing with that? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I love that reminder of those little habits, those little daily rituals that do keep you anchored and keep you moving in a positive direction. And when you let all those things go, then yes, that momentum of it's just like it's kind of like a sucking energy. It sucks you in to the malaise and the depression of that. So yeah, paying attention to those little daily rituals that you can do to continue to uplift yourself and keep you moving forward in a productive way, making the choices you need to make in your life. Yeah. All right. So then we have Neptune at the last degree of Pisces. So would you say when it's at that last degree, it's even more pronounced?
Mm-hmm. It's not quite at the last degree. It's at where is Neptune? It is at 22.
22.
22, yeah.
So towards the end. But what was the point you were making about this? Trust that there's a purpose, that there's a point. We don't know why now. Have faith. It will turn out the way it's supposed to.
Right, because Neptune is all about what the dream is. What the dream is that we're going to push for, what we think the vision should be. Why is that the vision? And what's that vision about? So back when last time Neptune was in Pisces was the California gold rush. So a lot of people were like, I'm going to go to California and I'm going to get rich. I'm going to go pan for gold. And Levi went out there and he went, all these people need pants. I'm not going to go stand in a cold creek. I'm going to make pants out of tents and rivets.
Wow.
And I'm going to make blue jeans. Right? So That's the Neptune Mercury, right?
Right.
Summon up your inner Levi.
Well, it's that is such a great story. I actually had not heard that before. So basically, all those people were going towards the dream. He obviously was there to probably originally to follow the dream, but then he realized there was an even better opportunity than what he had come there for.
All these guys were in cold water all day, and they needed a pair of pants to change into at the end of the day.
Oh my God, brilliant! Summon your inner Levi.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Very good. And thank you so much. This has been so helpful. I hope that all of you feel like you've gotten some good tidbits of input and guidance from the stars as translated so beautifully by Anne here every week. Thank you for that, Anne.
And Remo in the back there. He helps.
And Remo, of course. Can't forget Remo. And thanks to all of you for being here. Thank you for sharing your energy. Thank you for being so supportive to each other in the chat. I love this community and how you each like uplift each other and support each other. It's really beautiful to see. So thank you for that. Mm-hmm. And that's all we have. Mm-hmm. Have a great week.
Great week.
Yeah, you can listen to this as many times as you need to. I'll probably be listening to it several times. Or you can get astrology in your pocket, which if you haven't gotten that, check it out.
We do a daily send out, like what the day is going to be like. So
exactly. Yeah. So you can have Anne.
I actually have to go record them after we finish this. So I
perfect. Yeah. So you can have Anne in your pocket all week long. Mm-hmm. With her daily audios and daily messages as they come through, as the transits happen in real time. So if you want to check that out, you can go to astrologyhub.com/pocket. If you are international or you would prefer to have them via email versus text, you go to astrologyhub.com/pocket email. All right. Mm-hmm. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you as always. And we will, thanks for being a part of our community. And thank you as always for making astrology a part of your life. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Have fun. And congratulations on 20,000. That's very